make sure it otherwise it should be.
Okay, so got it. Meeting is now streaming live on YouTube. Still says it's setting up on this end. Yay. The awkward like first few moments of a live stream. There
hello everybody. If anyone's any early listeners, anyone online already, hello. I'm the pre-show warm-up act before you get to the main event of Lucy Lubin.
All right, I've just muted that side there, so it's not coming through. I think we are all good. We're live. Yeah, welcome to another episode of everyone's favorite film photography chat show, the
hosted
Analog
by Matt
Hour.
Murray and Lucy Lubin. The
Yeah,
Analog
that's
Hour.
it. Yeah. How are you feeling today, Matt?
I'm finally feeling a little bit more myself. So I've actually been, as you know, Lucy Lubin, I've been sick. I've my daughter probably about 10 days ago she's very ill one morning, and she's like, oh Dad, I need to go to the hospital. And we're like, you know, she's a little bit sometimes, what's the word, dramatic sometimes. We're like, hospital,
putting it on. Yeah,
she's like, I can't breathe. Like, oh, okay, I suppose that qualifies. Suppose, you
Bad
know,
of the year.
Yeah. Well, I listened to her chest, and she said, oh, you know, she said she had asthma and this, and I'm an asthmatic. I'm like, oh, I don't think it's asthma, but you know, what do I know? I'm not a doctor. So I took her to the hospital. They were really good. It wasn't very busy. And 2 hours later, they did all these COVID tests and stuff. Like they did two COVID tests, and they rang Sarah actually in the afternoon and said she hasn't got COVID, she's got influenza A. So it was a good old flu, but I call it I always say influenza A, because when you say, oh, we had the flu, people just say, oh, I had the flu, when they maybe didn't actually have the flu. You know what I mean? They were just
they haven't got confirmed flu.
And quite often you'll see cold/flu on health forms, and you're like, the flu is not the same as a cold. I don't like the cold and the flu being together, right? They're not the same thing. They're completely
very different. Flu is like very serious. People throw flu around like, you know, it's quite serious. You
like when I had to put my sick leave in, I had like a few days off work because I was really not well. And on my work form, it said cold. I had to choose a reason why I was sick, and it said cold/flu. And I'm like, I don't agree with this. I don't agree that I have to put myself. I had a cold for a few days. No. But on the Friday, I actually picked it up a few days later off my daughter. And I was in bed like a whole day, and like Sarah kept coming in trying to wake me up, and I'm like, you know how you wake up when you're sick and you're looking outside and you're like, it's still light. Is it still Friday, or is it Saturday morning? Or so basically I had 2 weeks where I've done nothing. I just haven't done anything, haven't done much at all. I've done no videos since the start of the month. So it's been one of those kind of events that's kind of just, it's like a big bowling ball, and it's all my bowling pins are gone everywhere. And I'm like, what am I doing? Yeah. How are you though?
Well, I'm a lot better than you have been. There's been no sickness in our household because we had a bit of a bout of it as well. But we've been really lucky. But that's because we haven't really been doing very much. Like I feel like we're home quite a lot, and you know, Lucas
cranking
with
out
me.
The videos,
so,
though.
Yeah, we've been doing a lot of content, which is good. Other than that, we've been really good, and we've been shooting a little bit. I've been shooting with my it's not mine. I borrowed it off another friend called Matt, who has a very large camera collection. Must be something in
he must be a very charming, handsome man. It's got to be.
You're still my favorite, Matt, though. But yeah, I've borrowed his X100, like Fujifilm X100.
Ooh, which one's that?
The original,
the OG,
like the OG, yes, because there's all the hype around the X100V. So I thought I'd try this out because I quite liked using the X20. So a bit of digital for me.
So that I had that camera. I think it was around 2011, and I bought that, and it kind of turned me back on to shooting JPEG, because before that I've been shooting a lot of like raw files, and you edit the files, and that's a big pain in the bum. I bought that camera, and the JPEGs out of that original X100, because of that sensor, are beautiful. The only thing that I actually ended up selling the original X100.
Yeah.
The only reason a couple of reasons, but one of them was the autofocus I found to be quite slow. They did improve it in firmware updates.
Yeah, it is quite slow.
I had 2 small children, and the JPEGs that captured of them were beautiful JPEGs, but quite often it was out of focus because it just couldn't focus fast enough. Yeah.
Yeah, it is quite lag. Yeah, it's quite laggy, but you know, it doesn't really bother me too much because I'm not capturing like many
Yeah.
moving subjects.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, so
Those motels aren't going anywhere.
no, we always say that
Chinese
those bins,
restaurants.
those trolleys, they just, you know, they're at a
The
standstill.
trolleys can move.
Well, maybe, yeah, they
can
can
roll down
maybe
the road,
move. Yeah. But no, I'm enjoying using it. It's been fun. And Lux has put some Cine Still 800T in his FM2.
Nice.
Yes, FM2. And he has pushed it to 1600, and we were saying that that's something maybe you could try, because I know you've tried pushing Cine Still 400D, but you haven't pushed 800D.
I haven't. I've never really got on with 800 Cine Still 800. You know, like I've shot a few rolls of it. I don't think I've ever got the best out of it. Not suggesting it's Cine Still's fault. But yeah, no, I've never really. Yeah, I've never shot a banger roll with 800T. The 400D's always done better for me. I don't know why that is.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I've only shot 1 or 2 rolls, but I did like it. I did enjoy it. But I'm excited to see what Lux will get from it. Let's just have a quick look in the comments.
I was just doing that actually.
Yes. Good morning, Anthony. Thank you for joining.
Anthony.
Melissa,
Hello,
Fox
Mel.
Fins, thank you. Nice to see you. Oh, well, I mean, I can't see you, but you know, see you in the chat.
And Melissa does say down further, the original X100 is very sluggish. Yes, yeah, and that, you know what, I did sell it because of that reason, but I wished I kind of hadn't. But hey, you know, we all make mistakes.
Yeah,
right?
and they're selling for quite a lot more now, I think, because yeah, it feels like because I did talk about this in a members video that I put out yesterday, but GX Ace, he just did a video on the X100, and it's such a good video. It's like yeah, it's so good if anyone hasn't seen it. But yeah, he was saying it is quite sluggish, but the photos are so beautiful. So if you can embrace that and kind of you know, just get on with that. Who else have we got in here? Suzanne, thank you for joining. And Matt Gamond, hello everybody.
AMP.
Thank you so much.
Lux.
Yeah. Lux is
Where is that?
there.
Hello, Lux. He gets 2 good mornings this morning.
Yes. Yeah, he does. Yeah. And we've got a new pod mic, so let us know how it's sounding in the comments. MP Jensen, he said sounds very good. Awesome. Cool. So we've got a packed show today. We have a fun little gifting segment that you came up with, Matt, because you're very good at coming up with these like fun, kind of exciting things.
I'm just Mr. Fun. What can I say?
You are. You're so much fun, Matt. Not like me. I'm just, you know, boring and it's just unfun. So the Xmas gifting segment is, we have $200 US. Was it 200 or 250?
Yeah, I was actually going to query that this morning in the pre-show. It doesn't really matter, does it? I mean, because the stuff I'm buying from you is off eBay anyway, so the price it's around, let's say $200 US roughly. Okay,
around that. Yep. So we've each been given that amount of money, like play money, obviously not real, and we're going to buy each other gifts with that money for Christmas. So we will be doing that later on in the show. I've got my list already for the things that I would be getting you, Matt. So I'm excited for that. And then we're also going to talk about photography projects. This is something that I wanted to bring up because I've had quite a few people DM me lately kind of asking about, you know, photography projects and how to get them going, or, you know, how to execute them, or when is something a project. And there's just, you know, when we could probably do a whole episode just on that because it's quite a broad topic, but I thought we could just kind of, you know, give people a few tips and talk it through. And that can hopefully help people, you know, in the audience if they're going to be taking on a photography project in the new year. Because I know at the end of the year, you start to kind of, you know, go through the things that you didn't maybe nail, or things you want to do like next year. So,
all the regrets of the year come back to roost, don't they?
Yes. Yeah. It's a reflective time. And then we have our playlists. So we'll be revealing the winner. And then we have... I
haven't even looked at that. Hey.
I had a little look before.
It's a Lucy Lumen win. Let me guess.
Well, you've got that handicap though. I can't remember what it is. So
30%.
You might have won by handicap.
I've got the Matt handicap.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm handicapped just by being me. So.
Yeah. So anyway, keep commenting, letting us know where you're watching from. Paul Wheeler is in the comment section. Hello to you. Thank you. And yeah, keep letting us know your thoughts on photography projects, if you've got anything coming up for the new year. And yeah, let's get into kind of, I guess, have you bought anything, Matt? We've had Black Friday sales. I found it really difficult to ignore various Instagram ads and all sorts of things popping up on my phone, and I've had a lot of late night scrolling and adding things to cart and then like abandoning cart because I'm like, no, you don't need that. So yeah, have you bought anything?
No, I haven't bought anything. I'm kind of, we've booked a little bit of news. The only positive news to come out of this house in the last month, or no, that's been completely pessimistic. Is well, one good bit of news is we finally booked a holiday. We haven't been on holiday really like for 4 years since we last went to Europe.
Wow.
And so we were thinking, do we go to Europe next year, which costs a lot of money, and we need at least 4 weeks. And in the end, we kind of did a compromise where we're going to Japan. So we're going to Japan for a couple of weeks. Yeah, next early next year. Yeah, very exciting. So I have been watching, YouTube videos about different places to go and all this,
Yes,
and
so much fun.
making Sarah watch them with me, and she's kind of she's been getting into them.
Yeah, that's such a fun part of like planning a holiday. Doing that's probably, I like that more than actually like going there, like in a weird way. Like I love planning and researching like the areas to go to and like what's the best restaurant, and then obviously like
where to stay,
photography, where to stay. I love so much fun. I love that. I'm excited to see. So yeah, have you been planning your the cameras that you're going to be taking?
Pretty much. I mean, I've kind of been thinking, like, I haven't bought anything, long story short, but I've been kind of thinking of that. The trip's only 4 or 5 months away, and so I've been thinking, well, what am I going to take? And I guess really because I like to shoot a bit of stock photography, I love travel photography.
Yeah.
I'm mainly going to swing back towards digital next year. So I've decided I'm going to take probably going to take my X100V, which is a camera, a bit of a camera at the moment that Fujifilm have reportedly stopped taking orders for the camera because they've got so many orders for it.
Yeah, the hype is real.
So I have got one here somewhere. I've even found, I had a clean up yesterday and off. Like I found these. I forgot I had them. This is the what is it? The lens hood and the filter for the X100V.
Yeah.
So these two things, I got these about a year ago, never used them. But this is what makes the X100V completely water resistant, waterproof.
Oh, nice.
Compared to the early models, which weren't. I mean, they were pretty hardy, but yeah. So
that'll be.
So handy. I think I'm going to take my X100V as a carry around. It's got the fixed, 23 mil, which is effective 35 mil focal length. I'm going to take that. And then I think I'll just take another Fuji camera with a long telephoto one, and that's it. And then I'll probably take, I think I'm going to take 3-point and shoots. So probably going to take I don't know, maybe my Contax T3, my Fujifilm class. And then actually I have bought this. Did I tell you I bought this?
Actually, now you're showing me. I do remember it.
Yeah,
a
I can't
DM
remember
from
when
you.
I bought this.
Yeah.
So I bought a Ricoh R1, which is the camera that I loved recently. I bought a new one. I've got a roll in there at the moment because I've been sick. I've only taken like about 10 shots, if that. But I've got to finish off that one. I don't know how long that's going to last. It cost me like $200 US. It could last 2 rolls as well. Who knows?
Yeah, you just don't know.
But I'm kind of thinking forward now. Like I've got so much stuff. Like I've been going through all the stuff in my room. I've got so much stuff. I'm getting rid of a whole lot of stuff. I just got to think anything I bring into the house, anything I buy now, it's got to be for a reason, not just because it looks cool or, you know what I mean? Like I'm in one of those phases where
you're in a Marie Kondo.
Absolutely.
Like, what's her things? But is she spark joy or is she?
She spark joy. A lot of the stuff, the crap in here does not spark joy. It sparks anxiety. Like, why have I still got that? Because I bought cameras up there in the wall that when I started a podcast 4 or 5 years ago, I'll do an episode on that, and like, well, I don't want to anymore.
Yeah.
So
I know the content thing, somebody commented on one of my reels and they were like, how many cameras do you and your like partner have like collectively? And I was like, oh, I don't know. I don't want to count them because I feel bad having to actually like realize what's going on. Although I don't think it would be as many as people think, because we borrow a lot of cameras, but I said like, content kind of is the excuse because I'm like, oh, well, I have a YouTube channel. So, it's an episode or, that kind of is the excuse to keep collecting stuff, I suppose.
But then if you plan forward, like I plan forward, like, okay, what am I going to do in the next 6 months? And really all those cameras up there on the shelf, they wouldn't even get a look in. Probably not in the next, if I did 18 months of planning of what episodes I want to do, they just wouldn't, you know what I mean? So like, well, why have I got them? They're not particularly valuable. I might as well just like flog them off on Marketplace and get rid of them,
Yeah.
That's current mood.
That's the mood that you're in. This flu's really got you.
Get rid of stuff.
Yeah, you just want to get rid. I think that's kind of how everyone felt, I think, during COVID as well. Like when everyone was at home, like I noticed there was like a lot of stuff on you know,
Yeah.
marketplace, because people were going through things. They're really in that kind of mode. Whereas when you're out at work and you're not really home, you're not really sort of thinking like that. So,
but in complete opposite of that, Paul has just said, if you need to know where all the used camera shops are in Tokyo, hit me up.
Oh,
yes, I definitely will be looking at the used camera
Matt
shops.
completely changes his tune, and he comes back with,
I think it
cameras.
is that Marie Kondo stuff. Like all this stuff I've got, some of the stuff I've got here in the office is just absolute crap. But if I got rid of all of that and just bought one nice camera, that would spark joy.
It would, yeah. And it's, I don't know. It's really hard though, because, you know, everyone's got that kind of like idealistic kind of thing of like, you know, I'm going to sell all my cameras and just have this like one camera, and that's the camera that I use, and then everything will be easy, and it stops you from having like choice paralysis and all of that.
Yeah.
But then it is nice to have a bit of choice, or, you know, experiment with something else, or you know, I don't know, it's so hard to find like balance with that. But I have no chance, because Lux everything sparks joy for him. You know, he'll be like, yep. And he's so certain that like he's very good at coming up with reasons why we need to keep things, or why that has a place. So I just don't even bother arguing with him. So have
you bought anything?
No, just this Rode pod mic in the sales, which we did need, because we're doing like Lux and I are both live streaming in the channel members. So and our mics were very different volumes in the first one. So we got this. So we did need it, and we got a second arm. So love Rode. Shout out the mic arm. Yes. That's pretty much it though. No, I haven't bought anything else. I was looking at, like, because I love this like double film strap, like this yellow one, and they have like orange and green, and I'm like, oh, I need all of them to match like my outfits, you know. That's very important to me. So I was looking, they had a sale, and I was looking on there, but I didn't realize they're in Spain, like in Barcelona. For some reason I thought that they were like in like China, or I don't know, like somewhere in Asia. But so I was like, oh sweet, like really good deals. And then postage was super expensive. So I was like, oh, I won't, you know, it kind of put me off a little bit.
Where did you get the first one through? Was it Walk-ins or somewhere? Or?
Yeah, I think I got it for my birthday. I'm pretty sure Lux got it from Walk-ins, but I don't think they have any anymore. But so that was like another thing I was gonna buy, but then I didn't buy it. So maybe I'll put it, you know, on my like Christmas list, or maybe I'll get it with some Christmas money or something like that. So but other than that, we haven't haven't bought any cameras. I've got plans to borrow more early Fuji cameras from the other Matt. So kind of just, it's a good way, I think, to test stuff out, because like I'll go through this in a video, but like there's things about the X100 that I thought I'd like that I don't like, you know. And when there's hype around a camera, you kind of I thought like with the viewfinder, like, because it's got the optical and the electronic, I thought that I would like the optical one. I don't know, just because I'm a film shooter and people talk about, you know, oh, they love that. So I'm like, oh yeah, I'll love that too. But I liked the electronic one, because I didn't like the frame lines being there and seeing outside of it. I know that's like a street photography thing. But so
the EVF's really good, because it does a real-time preview of the exposure. And so like I shoot in aperture priority typically with those cameras, like an F4 or whatever. And then, you know, if it's too dark, you know, you're looking through the EVF, and you can dial, you know, where the exposure comp dial is, and you can just dial it up, dial it down, and get the right exposure without having to muck around with shutter speeds or whatever.
All that stuff.
So, and also if you turned on the level, there's a green.
No, I haven't done that. No.
So there's a level in there, and you can turn it on, so you know you can get all your Lucy Lim and motels will be lined up perfectly.
Nice and straight. Yeah. Those trolleys. Nice
the trolley. I don't know about the trolleys. The trolleys will never be straight. They'll always be a bit skew-if. But
it's skew-if, yeah. Okay. And so like with digital, there's just so much. This is kind of why I stayed away from digital, really, because I was always like, oh, there's so many things you can do, and there's all these settings and there's these things, and I get really overwhelmed. Like film is quite sort of simple in that way, that you can't, you know, you just put it in there and you can't see, so then you're not mucking around with things. And, but it's interesting. I'm enjoying it. So so that's pretty much it for me on buying things. I think we've been and obviously Christmas is coming up, so I'm kind of like reserving the funds for Christmas shopping for other people, giving gifts. Nice. Okay, let's just check in the comments. Oh, Ali's here from 1 month 2 cameras. Awesome. Thank you for joining. What else is happening here? I've put my glasses on so I can actually read the comments. Melissa's saying, you're making me want to charge my X100 batteries and take it out for a walk. I think you should, definitely. give it a spin. Japan rocks. Yes, if you need. Oh, yeah, we've already read that one. Awesome. So
Cool.
moving on, Matt, should we do our gifting segment? Because I think you
Sure.
said you haven't put out much content, and I'm pretty sure people are probably all over the content that I've put out recently. So yeah, gifting segment. We've got do you want to go first?
No, you go first.
You want me to go first? Okay.
Yeah, please.
Right. I've got
because then if mine is in comparison really crap, I can make last minute additions.
Last minute adjustments. Okay.
Yeah.
I hope mine is
better be good.
I mean,
just saying.
There's lots of things that I can think of buying for you. So I was watching a little bit of just quick backstory. I was watching Azrael Knight's channel. I don't know if anybody in the comment section watches his channel. He does a lot of like retrospectives and stuff like that. But he had a video on why it's important to buy like printed magazines.
Oh yeah.
And how they're kind of like, dying. And we have plans to maybe do like a film photography magazine that we've been working on in the background that we'll hopefully have out next year. So he was talking about the magazines that he currently subscribes to, and then the ones that have sort of died off over the years. A lot of them were like American and Canadian ones, but there was a lot more than I realized. But then sadly he was saying, like they stopped printing 2 years ago and all that kind of stuff. He was saying how that's sort of the last thing we have, and we need to, we need to sort of subscribe to these things and buy them to keep them, because the concept of sitting down and reading like a magazine like is so different to being on your phone, and then there's ads and there's distractions and all of this. And like, I find that like when I sit down with a magazine, it's like really nice because it's, like you get this like full experience of, I know there's ads in a magazine, but it's a lot easier to kind of like, I kind of like them even because, I like the photography, and if it's a fashion
that's the
magazine,
thing. I like
that.
Just thinking about the whole digital analog thing. Like that's one thing that I don't find people talk about a lot. So when I was a kid, my dad actually for over 30 years, he worked for a magazine distributor here in Australia. So when we used to go to my dad's work, there'd be a big warehouse at the back. And because my dad was one of the, the managers, we could just go down to this warehouse and dad'd be like, oh, do you want a comic? Do you want an Archie comic? Or do you want a fancy comic?
That's sick.
Or I used to be into playing guitar. So do you want guitar magazines? Here's this guitar, that guitar. Here's Q magazine. Here's, Melody Maker.
Oh my God, Melody Maker and Q. My parents
we got them all free. Yeah.
My parents have like so many issues of both of
God.
those. I've never heard anyone talk.
It's just recycling,
Yeah, we have like my parents have like full bookshelves of Q magazines, and I would read them as a child. Yeah. Oh my God, that's like brought back so many memories. Anyway,
so we would like probably 80% of the magazines that were coming into Australia in the 80s and 90s, we could just get for free. And if we ever wanted one, I'd say to my dad, oh, can you get me August's, Jimi Hendrix is on the cover of the latest guitar magazine, right? Obviously he was dead by then, but I'd say, hey Dad, can you get me a magazine? And Dad would be like, oh, write me a note, because he's useless like me. He's like, oh, write me a note. So like, I used to write his notes, dear Dad, can you please get me the November issue of Guitar Monthly with Jimi Hendrix on the front? I have to give it to Dad, and Dad would have to go down to the warehouse. So this is one of the things, like magazines have the amount of the distribution of magazines and the amount of magazines, they've just like plummeted. If you go into a news agency now, news agencies used to be a license to print money in Australia. There's not that many of them anymore. They're small, and you have really seen this massive decline of people reading magazines, and it all going to YouTube and TikTok and online medium, which is I don't think that a lot of people talk about that very often, do they?
No, that's why I thought, I know you're very passionate about it. And as soon as I saw the video, I was like, oh my God, got to send this to Matt Murray, because he'll love it. But I thought what Azrael was saying in his video, was really true, and something that we don't talk about a lot, especially because, we're all film shooters, and we talk about how important it is to print your own work. But like, it's just as important to, like read these. Like, so
you saying that one of your gifts to me is a non-existent magazine?
No.
You've really pulled out all the stops of that $200.
$0.
You spent it all on that fancy microphone.
I blew all my money on this pod mic. No, so I would get you a subscription, like a yearly subscription to Aperture magazine. I've looked at it a lot, but it is quite expensive to subscribe to for the year, because it's like a quarterly magazine. It's quite thick. And then I've looked at they sell back issues on Amazon,
Yeah.
and I found them for like not a bad price, but then the shipping again, like I feel like when you're in Australia, it just feels like the shipping is just like when I bought
Yeah.
frame lines,
Killer.
you know, it just cost me like, you know, it nearly cost like 50, it was like $55 all up or
Wow.
something like that because of the shipping, and it was in pounds. So yeah, so I would gift you a yearly subscription to Aperture magazine, so you'd be able to
Aw.
sit on the weekend with like your coffee and like read Aperture magazine, and it's got a good mix of like interviews, photography, like cool stuff. Yeah. Oh, look at your little Yoda.
I think I feel like I look like Yoda these days. I've got hair though. I've got the hair.
Yeah, you've got quite a lot of hair, Matt. So yeah, so I would gift you that,
Thank
and
you.
then I would also get you a roll of 800T because you're going to Japan. So
Yes.
I feel like, you know, you're going to Japan, you got to shoot 800T.
Yep.
Get some like cool Blade Runner shots in like Tokyo.
Yes,
I feel like
yep.
that would really like, you know, you get a banger roll. If you can't get a banger roll of 800T
Give
in
up.
Japan, then just give
up.
up.
What's the
Give up on
point?
film photography.
Well, I've probably got about, I don't think I've got any 800T left. I recently shot a roll, it was okay. But I think I've got 6 or 7 rolls of Cine Still 400. And I think I'm actually just going to keep that for Japan. And I might end up pushing that. But thank you for your virtual gift of 800. But I think I'm starting to think now, like, you know, I'm going to take 2 or I didn't finish. I did finish off. I'm going to take 2 or 3 little point and shoots to Japan only, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But now I'm thinking, well, what stock am I going to take? That's the
Stock
thing, because what stock can I get?
Yeah,
And
I know.
So,
yep.
And I don't want to shoot 10 different like film. I don't want to shoot one roll this, one roll that one. Like I want it to be fairly
consistent.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's another thing in the background now. I'm thinking, okay, I've got 400 Cine Still for nighttime shots, but what else am I going to shoot? So sorry, continue.
No. That's a good point. Definitely. Would you, just as a quick question, because I know you were saying another reason why you chose to take digital cameras is because you've got the whole, you know, going through airport check-in with film, and you know, we all worry about that coming back. Would you get your film developed in Japan while you're there? Because I imagine like there'd be so many places to.
Yeah, there's a few different places I've read about. There's one called Popeye in West Tokyo, and
so cool. I'm so jealous.
I've thought about it. I've thought about do I do that or not? Or do I just bring it back and set it down to Ikigai? I don't know. I haven't really made a decision on what to do. Yeah, I don't know.
It would be cool. I think if I was there, like I would get it developed, because I'd be like, I want the experience, and you know, just like, I think it would be cool.
It's kind of like, I already know that, you know, Pia and Ikigai do a good job. So I'd be tempted just to bring them back, because if I got them done, I know. I know. Never get any, you know, mates rates or anything like that, you know.
Come on, Pete.
What's a bloke got to do? I hit him up about a sponsorship deal. I haven't heard anything back. I think someone got in before me. I don't know. I'm miffed about that. Yeah, no, I don't know what to do. My gut feeling is I'll just bring it back. Because it's got to be 400 speed. I don't think I'm going to take much more than 400 speed film, because I'll be pushing that anyway. So I don't think it'll have a huge effect on the film. We are doing 2 internal flights while we're there as well, though. So there'll be a couple of flights in and out. So
interesting. Oh, I'm so excited for your trip. I'm excited for the YouTube videos that you'll make about your trip. I'll be expecting those. So make sure you're get Elodie to make
do a TikTok live and
some B-roll for you, and you know, get the family involved.
This is another consideration, because you think, okay, I'll go in Japan, we're doing all these places, I want to make some videos while I'm there. Well, what am I going to shoot it on? Okay, I usually shoot at my iPhone. Am I going to have enough like battery and enough storage on my iPhone to be going around Japan? And then you don't want it to be like, oh, Dad's behind again, Dad's taking photos and Dad's doing B-roll, you know, so actual impression of my family. So
I can imagine.
You've got to think, you got to be at a holiday as well. You can't just be looking through your you know, your thing the whole time, you know.
Totally.
So
it's hard to balance it out. We obviously, like, we haven't really been on that many trips, but when we went to Noosa, which was a total waste of time because it just literally rained the entire time. But we had lots of content plans because we're like, oh, we're going somewhere new, so it's really exciting, and you want to like show that off on YouTube or whatever. But then it does kind of take you away from enjoying the actual experience, because you're like, okay, taking photos, then got to get B-roll and remember all of that. It is very stressful. Like it's and then if you don't have somebody else doing it as well, like, so I would say just, you know, obviously you're going to video things when you're on holiday anyway, because you're like, oh, this is cool, I want to like remember it. So just do that and then use that, you know.
Yeah, I
like
think you've
the
got to be
organic
strategic,
footage.
and you've got to think, okay, well, I want to be-roll this, be-roll that. You can't do you can't do
No,
everything, can
you're
you?
only
You can only do
one
what you can
man.
do.
You've only got so much bandwidth,
Yeah,
Matt
that's
Murray.
right. That's right.
So,
And I'm exceeding that all the
I think we
time.
both are. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm exceeding Lux's as well. Poor guy. So, okay. So I'd get you the roll of 800T, and then I would also get you in preparation for your trip. Have you ever read Monocle? The magazine.
I've seen it in
Monocle?
airports, funnily enough.
Yeah.
It's one place I always see. Yeah, it looks really cool.
It is really cool. And it's such a
Yeah.
good mix of like so many different things. And they do, you know, like a wrap up kind of issue each year of everything. When I worked in a cafe, this guy used to come in and read it, like this like old, like regular guy used to come in. And then when he'd finished reading it, he would give it to me. And I was like, oh, that's so nice, because it's quite expensive. So
did he do the crossword or?
I think so, yeah, but I wouldn't do the crossword anyway. So I was like, that's fine. I just want
what about the Sudoku? Did he do that?
He did it all. He loved it. So I would get you the Monocle guide to Tokyo, because they have a Kyoto one and a Tokyo one.
Oh wow.
But I wasn't sure if you were going to go to Kyoto. I don't know that much about Japan.
We weren't going to go to Kyoto, and then in the end, here we are. So we're going to Sapporo, which is, we've got to fly from Tokyo up to Hokkaido. And Sapporo we're basically flying to Sapporo in case there's still snow there, which there may or may not be snow. And so, and then, you know, so everyone's then like, there better be snow, otherwise it's going to be a waste of money. And like, no, you can't think that. We're going to Sapporo for a good time. If there's snow, there's snow.
If there's snow, it's a bonus.
Yeah, there should still be some in the hills, like somewhere, like a grey pile of slush, like a little
patch of snow. Yeah, snow. Snow's yeah. There you go. There's your snow. Snow can be quite underwhelming if it's not like
pretty and white and powdery.
Snow. Like people have this idea of snow, and it's like in the UK, I remember like it snowed when I was little, and it wasn't like a full-on snow, and I was like, oh, and then everyone drove over it, and it was all like muddy and sludgy, and I was super disappointed. Like I was like, this is not what I had in mind, you know.
The part of the UK where Sarah's from is the West Midlands, which is not, let's be honest, it's not it's some pretty places, but it's not known generally for being a beautiful place. But when it snows, oh my gosh, there's places like in the West Midlands, like places like Bloxwich and Walsall and stuff. Yeah. It looks beautiful. Like, oh my, what is this place? This looks amazing. And all the snow melts, and like, oh.
Yeah, it melts place. Like really, yeah. I've definitely seen, like, looked out the window when I've been there and other times, and I'm like, wow, this is magical, you know, like really thick snow. But then people, it melts, and then it just kind of, it's only good for a little while. So,
and so we are going to Kyoto. We've been to Kyoto like 6 years ago. I wasn't going to go back. I feel like Kyoto is really spread out. Like, it's not like a little town you can just walk around. Like I remember we were in there summer it was late summer. It was really hot. I'm walking around with two small children in the hot, and everywhere was far away from each other. Yeah. So I didn't really want to go back to Kyoto, but then I keep reading all this stuff about it. So we are staying. We're actually staying right near the station in Kyoto. Which will be there for Sarah's birthday actually. And
nice.
So we'll be doing some day trips. We're going to go to Super Nintendo Land in Osaka as well. Super Mario Land.
Wow, that's so cool. Actually, Luca can now say Mario.
Mario time.
He says like Mario, like he can't quite say it, but it's very cute. So very good. I'm very excited about the fact that he can say that. So that sounds so super cool. Paul, is that Paul chasing UXO? That's Paul, isn't it? He said the best remples and shrines in Kyoto.
Temples, temples. They definitely are. We went to some last time. I think I would like to go back. I think the problem was, like, we had a whole day and we just went to 3 temples by the time we lined up, and the kids were like, so I think you've got to really, like, unless you're there by yourself and you're being completely self-indulgent on what you want to do. Yeah. If you're there with family who don't care about temples and they more care about Hello Kitty and Nintendo, then you've really got to, okay, we'll go to the one temple I want to go to, and then we'll go. Like, for example, my son really wants to go to a cat cafe.
Oh, yes, I've heard about those.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, they sound really cool. Yeah.
So I'll explain it to the audience in case, because my wife didn't actually know what it meant. She just thought it was a cafe. You turned up and like there was a cake in the shape of a cat. I'm like, no, you turn up to the cafe. There's cats everywhere. Yeah. My wife hates cats. She had childhood trauma with cats. She hates cats. No. So my wife and my daughter said, we're not going. We ain't going. We're not going. There's stupid cats everywhere in people's cups of tea and macaroni cheese. No way. So my son really wants to go. So I said to my son, "I'll take you to a cat cafe if you come to me to the JCII Camera Museum in Tokyo."
Yes,
So we
cool.
forged a deal.
Yeah, good.
And
You gotta, it's give and take. Yep.
It's give and take. Life is about give and take. There's also another one somewhere in, I think it's far west Tokyo. There's actually a capybara cafe. Do you know what a capybara is?
No, I don't know what that is.
It's like, my son likes these animals. They're like it's like a big South American rodent. It looks like looks like a small wombat, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
But you can go, and there's a capybara cafe where they've got a capybara, and you can go straight to the capybara.
So cute. Oh, I feel like Japan. I've never been to Japan. I think Melissa's obviously been. She's saying love Kyoto.
Yeah.
Paul's been. And
I would love to go to a cat cafe. Ed, come to us to Japan and you can see it.
But Japan seems so so out of this world, kind of like there isn't anywhere else like Japan.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just so different to everywhere else, and kind of I'd love to. I feel like it would be just this like sensory overload, kind of just like really wow experience. So I hope I get to go one day. And I've watched Lost in Translation a lot of times.
Oh yeah.
For the movie, and so
isn't
as
he
a teenager
now?
so who Bill is he? I didn't know that. Has he wronged the
Bill Murray? I think I don't know.
Bill Murray,
I had a few stories. And he's
okay. I thought Bill Murray was like untouchable. Like he's such a loved.
No, he's been touching.
I
don't know. But I've heard there's been a few incidents of him being a grumpy old man.
Grumpy old man, yeah. Well, I mean that's his shtick, you know.
Well,
that's what he's built his kind of. Oh well, poor Bill. Cancelled. Still great. Lost in Translation. Great movie. Great soundtrack. Yep. So that's what I would get you. And I mean, I'm up near my mark of kind of hitting my limit.
You can spend over for me,
but
don't be shy.
Don't be stingy. So I would get you a new journal, notepad, book, all ready for your new Bones to Pick with Lucy Lumen for 2023.
Oh, yes.
So get you a new burn book, because I'm sure this year's is pretty full. So you need a new one. So I'd get you that.
I've got 3 here, but hey, bring them on as far as I'm concerned.
Fill those pages up with bones. Oh,
they're full. They're half full anyway. So.
So that's
excellent.
Those are my gifts for you, Matt. I mean, I probably will get you something for Christmas, like for real. So
for reals,
for reals, yeah.
Yep. Okay. All right. So I've got a few little virtual things here for you. Should I tell you?
Yes, go for it. I'm excited to hear.
Okay, so I've got them all in different order here, but the first thing I'd do is I would buy you a 5-pack of Kodak Color Plus. You can still get Color Plus here in Australia. It is actually, I'm stunned. Like someone, I can't remember who it was, but I just saw this morning. Someone posted up how much it was in the UK now. It's like over £10 a roll, or something ridiculous like that. It's just absurd. And I know in America it's $17 a roll. Like
Jesus, really?
I'm when I last bought it from America 3 years ago, admittedly, but it was $3.49 a roll, which I think is a pretty good price point. That's why everyone was shooting it. $17 a roll is absurd. You can get it here in Australia for around $7 to $8 a roll. I still think it's a good buy. I would buy you a 5-pack of Color Plus Lucy Lumen. That's my first gift.
I love a bit of Color Plus.
The second thing I buy you is a double film strap in Fuji green, which would match your t-shirt.
Thank you.
There you go.
I want that. I was just saying that. You know me so well.
I know. It's almost like I listened to what you said in the pre-show warm-up.
It's almost like we talk every day.
And I added this to the list as I was talking. The next thing I would buy you is, I picked this up yesterday. I've never seen it before. This is something new. Maybe some Australian listeners will have seen this. I don't know about. Look at this. This is cool. It's called Art Guide. It's got a sticker on there. Art Guide Australia. And it's basically all about art shows all across Australia. And there's some nice, really cool interviews and stories in there.
Yeah,
and I know
awesome.
that, it's probably on the periphery of your interests more than, being art. But, I thought this is really cool.
I like a bit of periphery interest, I don't want to be just boxed into the one.
Nobody puts Lucy Lumen in the corner?
No, they don't. Nobody puts me in a niche.
No. And there's something here at the Tweed Gallery, not too far away. So I'll buy you a copy of that. Cool. $6 Australian, very, very cheap.
Oh, that's very cheap. Normally those things are like real pricey,
It's pretty thick. I think they funded by the ads in there, because a lot of galleries have got ads in there. So I reckon itself kind of,
Yep.
The next thing I'll buy you, I have 3 of these. None of them are particularly reliable, but I would spend about $100 on getting you a nice version of this camera.
Yes.
The Fujifilm 6800 Digicam, 6 megapixel. It's actually only 3 megapixels, but they did a fudge thing where it's 6 megapixels.
Okay.
So I'd spend $100 on that for you.
Oh, nice. I love that. It's such a cool design.
I would also buy you, because the camera by itself is useless. I can't actually see what I mean? I can't even open the camera up now, but I would have to go and buy about $20 worth of these. This is the memory card for it.
Yep.
It doesn't take normal memory cards. So I buy some of them. And
the
so we're up about
accessories.
Up about 150, I think now. And there's how many? There's 3 things left. There's 2 things left.
Okay.
So the next thing is I would actually go to the Lucy Lumen merch store and buy you a Lucy Lumen t-shirt. I can't remember what the details of that, but what are the details for the Lucy Lumen merch shirts, Lucy Lumen?
I'm not even sure. I'll have to link it below, but I think it is. I used Spreadshop and they link to YouTube. So a lot of like YouTubers use that. So it's like on the bottom of like a lot of videos and stuff like that, and you can get the shirts. The pricing is a little bit higher than I'd like it to be on the merch store, but it kind of sets it as that. And you don't kind of like, it sort of just covers costs. So I did realize when I looked in there, I was like, oh, that is quite a lot for like a t-shirt or whatever. If I could change it, I would, but that's kind of just like what it is. So, but I've ordered a bunch of stuff for myself and it was all really good quality.
Sweet.
Yeah. So,
Nice.
yeah. And I got Lux a shirt because I thought he could wear it. I'm trying to get him to wear it in a photo shoot to show off but he said it was a hard no on that. He doesn't want to do any modeling for the merch store. So yeah. I'll have to maybe enlist you, Matt Murray.
Well, I'm not sure I'm model worthy. I think Lux is more of a, it's rocking that vibe a bit more. And the last thing that I would buy you is I would spend my last $15 or so on an Audible subscription for you. But however, there would be a catch.
Okay.
Downloaded onto your iPod, Lucy Lumen, would be Surrender, the memoir of Bono from U2.
And that's like mandatory listening.
And yes, and while you're out walking around the Gold Coast, you can listen to the soothing tones of Bono. Has he done the audiobook? Yeah, so I downloaded it about a few weeks ago when it came out. It's actually very... in terms of I only like audiobooks where the original person who wrote the book is narrating. I think they're the best. Listen to Connolly's and a few other people's. Alan Alda's I listened to was really good. So Bono narrates this. It is very, in terms of there's a lot of music and stuff and sound clips you don't hear in other audiobooks. So there's like bits of U2 songs, there's bits of the Ramones. And there's there's a dream sequence and there's a dreamy sort of sequence where he's up high on drugs because he was in a operation. So it's just got to that part of the book though where he's going on about politics and
sort of preaching a little bit, or
no, it's about the Ukraine and Russia and how they went to Russia and the Ukraine and played in this underground cover. Like, it's interesting, but I just wanted to know about the songs behind the albums, not so much like when he met Mikhail Gorbachev. I don't really care about that, to be honest. I mean, a lot of biographies or autobiographies can get like that with music people. Like there's parts and sections that you're really interested in, and then other parts where like, especially if it's going through like, before they were in the band or before they were who they are, sometimes that's really interesting. Sometimes it's really boring. Like my parents read the Bruce Springsteen one, I think. And I don't know, they were kind of like, it just wasn't that interesting. Some people just aren't. Just because you're like really talented or you're in a really cool band or you're whatever, doesn't mean you're going to be interesting, Like, that's true. Just because you're on YouTube doesn't mean you're interesting.
Just because you got a YouTube channel doesn't mean that you can then have a chat show and talk for an hour and a half.
We are,
and think that you're interesting. But good thing that we are, Matt. Okay, so thank you for those virtual gifts. That's I've been thinking about getting an Audible subscription because I don't get time to read as much, and I thought like that's a good. I can listen to something while I'm doing other stuff. So I've been listening to it. I haven't been walking the dog recently. The poor dog's probably wondered what the outside world is because I've been sick. But I have been when I've been driving to the chemist, to the doctor. I've been listening to snippets of Bono in the car. So that's been you and Bono good. Just hanging out.
Yeah.
All right. So let's move on to our photo project topic.
Yes.
So, I mean, you don't have to give away any of your current photo projects or your future ones, but I thought we could maybe touch on and comment in the chat if you guys have any questions about photo projects or you're working on anything that you want to kind of share. But it's something that I really struggle with in terms of I have a lot of ideas for photo projects and I'm like, oh, that's an awesome idea. That's an awesome idea. And I write them all down, but then I never actually kind of get around to like fleshing them out or executing them. or I worry about like what to commit to, because I feel like once I commit to it, then that's it. And then I start getting anxious that maybe it won't come to anything, or do you know what I mean? Or is that a good idea? Or what if I get bored with it halfway through and abandon it, and then I've wasted all this time on it, and then I just kind of like go a little bit crazy, and then I end up like paralyzed and kind of not doing anything.
Yeah.
And just going out shooting photos, but not having any kind of end point other than like making YouTube videos, which is kind of like a project, really, you know, like it does give you an end point, which I really like. But yeah, you're a person who has, you know, come up with a concept or an idea, you know, and then put it into a zine and like executed it. So I thought you could offer some tips or some insight.
Sure. I'm actually going to do a video about this. It's actually in my forward planning, because I'm actually going to do 2 or maybe 3 videos about making a zine. Not that I'm a world expert or anything, but I have done it a few times. So I want to do a video about how to put a zine together and all that kind of stuff. And I actually thought, before I do that, well, why would, like, the zine is just an output really of a project, right? So I thought really the first video should be about starting a photo project, and you know, what should be about, how do you know when you've got enough photos, all that kind of stuff. So I will be doing some longer videos about this. I guess to me is that it literally can be anything. For example, the first zine that I put out, we went to the Isle of Wight in 2019 for a 6-day holiday. I wasn't shooting a photo project. I just went to have a good time with some film cameras and my family. I look back at the photos afterwards, and they kind of told this story about different parts of the Isle of Wight and little adventures we had. And so I put it together based on what I saw in front of me. I never went with the intention of ever producing a zine or a photo project. So I think, you know, you can set out and say, right, I'm going to photograph every motel on the Gold Coast, and you might have nothing, and you might set out, right, okay, let's draw up a list of the motels, you know, which ones look the best, which ones look retro, and you literally set out and took every single one off and do that over a course of months. Or it could just be you looking back at your photo catalog that you've shot and going, actually, I've got a lot of photos of this subject or that subject. This could be the basis of something going forward. It could be you know, I don't know, it could be about, you know, the Gold Coast after dark, or it could be about trolleys, or it could be literally about anything, you know. It can literally be about, you know, you can put it together a photo project on a location like the Isle of Wight. You can put it together on a particular film like an Ektar, or a particular camera you used, or a particular feeling or a thought you had in your mind, like, you know, loneliness or isolation, or you know, dense population, or
so many good ideas here.
It can be about any of these things, about around a lens. And I think there was a zine put out, I think, by Dan Novak, and who did a community zine through NegPos, well, kind of through Negative Positives film photography podcast, and everyone had to shoot with a 135 lens, or was it 135? I think it was, anyway. And so, you know, you can have all of these sort of projects, and you can either be about from yourself, your project, or a collaborative project. Obviously, I've run collaborative projects through collaborative zines through my podcast. But it's really like, you know, this is the idea. We're going to base everything around this. And I actually probably have a number of photo projects. I'm not even sure I call them photo projects, though. This is the thing, because say, I'm doing several it makes it sound to me really serious, and like people should be expecting a lot. Like, what have you got? And I show them the photos, like,
that's true. It does kind of, I feel a lot of pressure. This kind of reminds me of like the other conversation we had about, like, when you talk about, like, do you say photos or like work? Like, I'm making work. Has that similar kind of feel to it, that, like, you know, this photography project, and then it's like, you know, this huge thing that you're working on, and then there's going to be this big output and this big expectation. And I think even just like that can put a lot of pressure on me, because I'm like, well, like, I just took photos of this stuff because I thought it looked cool, and it like makes a good series. But you know, there's not this huge, like, you know, when you like, you hear a lot about, you know, like someone like Alex Soth, who, you know, he, like, you know, he's did that, like, sleeping by the Mississippi or whatever. And, you know, he's like taking these portraits of people. And there's like Brian Burks as well on YouTube, and he takes photos of like people with their cars on like large format. It's very, I mean, it's great, but it's very like, you know, it's taken a lot of time and a lot of like energy, and there's like all this thought behind it. And, you know, and I always feel the pressure to kind of emulate that or do that. It can't just be like a fun project or a, you know, like,
I think they can be fun. I think, like, definitely with some photo projects, these are things that people work on over years and years and years, and they put a lot of blood, sweat and tears into them. but I don't necessarily, if you're starting, you're doing a first one or your second one or whatever, I don't think you should set out going, because it makes it insurmountable then. If you think, oh, I've got to go get a large format camera and go under the bridge in Mississippi for 6 months taking photos, like, I'm not sure I can do that. Like, it kind of puts this massive hurdle and barrier in front of you. Whereas if you say, okay, I mean, I'm making this up, I'm going to photograph the 20 best looking motels on the Gold Coast, like, that's kind of achievable. It's going to take time to do, because you might go take a photo of a motel and it might look crap. Actually, I need to come back at dark for this one, you know, like the pink poodle might look better with the pink poodle sign lit up, you know what I mean? So but I think you should definitely be around something achievable, because I'm sure the people who you've spoken about, that's not their first photo project they've ever done. Like, it's probably their 5th, 10th, 20th, or second, I don't know, but you've got to make it achievable in some way, and it's got to be fun or interesting. Like, you've either got to be interested in the subject, or it's got to be fun. It's got to be some kind of something pushing you forward to wanting to do it. It can't be like a chore, like, I've got to go do this because I think people will like it. I think that's the wrong attitude, you know?
Totally. Yeah. I think that's such great advice. And even just talking to you about it, like, it's making me realize that I maybe kind of put those kind of Alex Soth level things there, maybe a little bit, so that I could kind of get myself out of doing it, if that makes sense, because I know that it's quite sort of like, oh, well, it has to be like that, otherwise it's not worth doing. And then I can kind of like get out of doing it, if that makes sense, because I'm somebody who gets a little bit worried and anxious about doing things, worried that it won't come out how I wanted or how I thought. And then I'll feel disappointed. I'm very like terrified of being disappointed. So it's really interesting that you say that. And that's so true, that those people are like, you know, very accomplished, and also they have time, like they have time to, like, it's a real luxury to have the time to flesh out a project like that, and like, you know, all the trial and error that goes into it, all the resources that go into it, you know, like, that's
the other thing is
job, basically.
Quite a few of these people I don't know the circumstances, but I know here in Australia we've got a lot of funding for arts projects. Probably I think people in the arts industry would say not enough, but there's certainly people who probably proposed projects to arts bodies and had funding for them to carry out this, you know. So you know, people have some people it's their job, some people have got funding. I don't think it should put you off. I mean, you could make a really easy, simple little zine for a few American dollars. Like, you know, that Polaroid one I did had about 10 pages.
That was so cool.
Like, it can be, that costs, you know, a few bucks. I mean, it doesn't have to be this big, massive thing. In fact, I think in a way, if you start off with a smaller project, you could work out whether it's for you or not.
Yeah, totally. You know? And then you've got some evidence as well that you can do it. You know, like, you've got a result and you've achieved something, so you kind of like, oh, now I feel motivated to like keep going. It's kind of like, you know, it's a pretty boring kind of off topic like analogy, but like, you know, like, if you start like running or like going to the gym or something like that, you've got these really high expectations. So I need to be like this person. It's like, maybe just like run for like 10 minutes and then you'll be like, oh, awesome. Okay. I completed, I did that. So now I've got the confidence to like keep going. And I think it's the same with anything in life really, but like with creative things, like if it's all weighing on top of you, it then, like you say, becomes unfun, unachievable. And
that's why the one I did, the Isle of Wight one, was good, because I all of a sudden was like, I didn't even mean to do it. And I was like, okay, I've got enough. And with some funny little things that happened when we were there, like, I had enough for to tell some stories in the zine. I've got a couple other zines on the go, and I think I was telling you this about a week ago. I've actually finished the layout for one. I just haven't done the words, but I don't know if I want to do it anymore. You know what I mean? Because I took the photos a few years ago, and I'm now thinking about, well, should I skip that one and go for the next one? Because I've got a collection of photos now, which I'm thinking about. You know, these kind of nighttime dusk photos, you know, do I do one around that? I've also got I also sort of collect images of things. So as you know, I collect images. I've been taking photos of hill hoists, the washing lines. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. I feel like I need to do a photo project around that, but I'm not. I haven't even got a third of the images yet, I would say. I've probably got about 30 or 40 images, but some of them are crap. So and some of them aren't as good as. I haven't really gone full tilt into that yet. I've just been taking them when I see them. I haven't gone out looking for them, you know?
And that's kind of one of those like longer sort of projects where it's like, you know, you get them when you see them, and then maybe in a few years' time you'll have enough to make a project, but there's no pressure on it. It's just something that you would shoot anyway, and you like kind of collecting, because it is kind of like collecting like these things, and
it is collecting,
and you don't notice sometimes that there's a theme, or that you keep doing something until you've done it you know, a few
Yeah.
times, and then it becomes like thematic and kind of like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
okay, I'm really drawn to like, you know, shooting this. Like I've noticed that a lot with my work, my photos like lately with like, you know, things that I'm really drawn to. And then I think, is there a bigger idea here? Or, and I think what
Yeah.
you said about your every summer zine too, like you don't have to know that it's a photo project. Like I
Yeah.
always kind of thought that, like, I'm like, oh, people must know. And then they have the intent first, and then they go and like, you know, make the photos. But I think it doesn't have to be like linear like that. It can be where you realize afterwards, or like it can be kind of any way that you make it. I'm very like, I put a lot of pressure on myself because I always want to be, my midwife said to me, like, you're a real like type A personality, like you want to achieve and you want to be, so, you know, and that's not going to work with like childbirth because it can go any way. So you've got to like kind of, you know, lose the expectations to go with the flow. Photography projects and childbirth, you know, it's just another analogy for you.
Should we catch up with the comments here? We take turns in reading them. So Ed Mann says, the last 3 years since COVID, I've been shooting rural decay, small town, main streets and abandoned buildings in black and white. A little sad. It does sound a little sad, you know, the death of the, you know, the rural towns, small towns and stuff. It does sound fascinating. I wouldn't mind getting over there to
and it's a good thing to document, I think, like, even though it is sad, like think about, you know, like all the pictures we have of, you know, somewhere like Detroit, you know, when I can't remember what decade that was, but you know, there's been lots of things like that we really do need photos of to kind of like remember. So it sounds like a cool project. Michael, just have fun, bring a digital to snap away and take the film camera when in the zone. Definitely. This is something I've been doing a lot more of with the digital cameras, just like, going out, having fun. You can kind of experiment a little bit more. I can experiment with my compositions and do something different and not be like, oh my God, I just wasted however many dollars. That's a great thing to do.
1 month, 2 cameras. I love snackable photo projects, like what you can shoot for 24 hours in a hotel room. Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome.
You know, I think, and that sort of really goes towards the, you know, don't think about it too much, but really, you know, you've got 24 hours. What are the best photos I can take here or there or somewhere else? Or, you know, that's really achievable and really workable. And it could be at the end of the 24 hours, you know, you haven't shot anything interesting, or maybe you've shot some stuff amazing, but and like those sort of little challenges, like they're kind of like projects, but like challenges, you know, like just setting those for yourself and doing them. And then you know, like some people just shoot black and white for a month, or like things like the Frugal Film Project, and then maybe there'll be something at the end. Doesn't mean you have to make a zine or you have to do anything. Maybe it's like a, you know, just a carousel of Instagram posts of that, you know, hotel room thing that you did. And that, I think that's really cool. I have one that's kind of snackable, to use Ali's great term, of a building in Burleigh that I really like. Like it's new and it's got really interesting architecture, and there's just so many angles of it that you could take a photo with. So I really want to shoot a whole roll of film just on the one building, like 36 exposures, kind of like IKEA, like where I was like, I'm going to shoot a whole roll in IKEA. Like it's a fun thing, and you know, you just smash it out, and like that could have been a zine, but like it was a video, like, you someone
know,
did it. Didn't we find that someone
someone did a zine, and I was like, and I fully like connected with them, and they didn't match my enthusiasm for the fact that we both did the same thing. They were just like, oh yeah, you know, kind of whatever. And I was like, oh.
You got brushed, Lucy Lumen.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this is really exciting. And you
got brushed like a Shetland pony.
Yeah, I did. Rude. What else have we got here? I need to scroll up. We've got,
let's have a look. Travis. Hi Travis, you're missing this.
Hello Travis, thank you for joining.
Joe, Alex Sloth. I always got to read that as Alex Sloth, you know, because my son loves sloths. So I always get it. Alex Sloth, I think he said he had his own projects. It starts as one thing and changes to something else. Yeah, for sure. I think one of the projects I'm working on at the moment, I had an idea for it. I don't want to say what it was, but it's kind of morphed because the photos just weren't as good as I thought they were, and it was hard to take them. And I'm not saying you should abandon things because they're hard, but I was taking a whole lot of photos on Natura 1600 film. And I had an idea for a project. And then I started shooting 400D and pushing it 2 stops, and the colors and everything else just looks so much better. I'm like, well, actually, I'm not going to do a project around Natura anymore because it's not living up to. It's not as good as it. You know, the photos aren't as good as they, in my mind, as the ones I'm taking on 400D pushed. So I think definitely things can morph and change. And I'm now looking at a project around those new photos, but I don't know what it is yet.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. I think that's a good thing to be mindful of. Like, yeah, it can change kind of as you're going. Like it can be sort of fluid. And I have heard Alex Soth say that like it's there's I think an Analog Talk interview where he talks about how his project started, and it's like completely different.
Did you say Analog Talk?
I did say Analog Talk. I sometimes call it Analog Hour. I get our shows confused.
I heard there was a banging episode of Analog Talk just recently, the last week.
Yes, it is not out yet, but I was
sorry.
no, that's okay. I was on Analog Talk, which is super exciting. So good. I was talking to them for like 3 hours. That wasn't the actual recorded part, but we spoke for a long time. So, which isn't probably not surprising to people because Lucy Lehman loves to talk. But yeah, I'm very excited about that. I have been a long time listener, fan, and I did write down at the start of this year, it was one of my goals to be on Analog Talk. So yes,
I look forward to listening to that.
Very
I have already checked once, but it wasn't out.
I don't think it's out yet because they put it out on their Patreon early, and then it goes out. But I'm not sure when it's going to go out because I don't want to hassle them because you know what it's like to be a podcaster, Matt. You know.
I used to. I don't know if I know anymore.
All right, what else?
Suzanne, I would like to make another zine. Do it, Suzanne. Yes,
yeah, do it. And you'll Michael, have Matt's video to you know.
If I get around to doing that. Michael, as a project close focus is a fun in a shop, in a house. Yes, I've done some close focus macro stuff. Which is lots of fun, lots of things that you don't know what they are.
Yes. We've got I dislike Walmart, but I see they have Holga black and white 24 exposure for $4.59 US. I'm guessing Holga film is not that great. I didn't know that they did any film, Matt. Did you know that?
I know I didn't. I was about to say 120, but obviously 24 exposure it isn't. I know they do film. I've never shot any Holga film. I think is it rebranded Fomapan maybe?
Maybe.
I don't know.
It seems like it would be, yeah. But I mean, worth a try. That's pretty cheap, I guess. Like if you're, you know, if you're a black and white shooter. What else have we got? What do you think, Scurry HD, what do you think is so special about vintage digital? Not just the difference between CCD and CMOS sensors, but more generally the white balance and the colors. I mean, this is a pretty sort of big topic, I guess, and one that like everyone's talking about in the vintage digital thing. But for me, it's less about the kind of the text and the specs and the results, and more about like the user experience and the kind of culture around it, I guess. Like it's linking up with a lot of, you know, like Y2K and indie sleaze and all these sort of movements. And I just think that that's really cool. And I think that people are, you know, it ties in with the nostalgia of film photography. But in a more kind of, like we were saying, that we feel like film photography has gotten so expensive. It's kind of like, not that it's not cool anymore, but it's like, it's kind of become for a certain group of people. Whereas the Digicam thing is a lot more accessible for people, you know? Whereas back when I started shooting film, it was more accessible than buying a digital camera, you know, like because the outlay was a lot. So film for me was like, oh, this is cheap and fun and cool, and I can find it in thrift stores and, you know, have fun with it, and it doesn't matter. Whereas now it's like, you know, flipped. And I feel like the digicams are the things that you can have fun with. You can still find them in thrift stores, which I think is a huge reason why film shooters are liking it, because they can get that thrill of like finding, you know, you go home and you Google it. Like I used to do that with film cameras. Like, you know, when you could still find them, you'd be like, oh, I've never heard of it. And then you Google it and you're like, oh, wow, this is actually, you know, I got it for $5, but it's worth this much. And it's sort of getting like that with the digicams too. So for me, that's what, that's how and the results do look great. Like this, you know, like just watch Ali's channel. Like there's so many cameras on there and you're like, wow, these photos look awesome. So
I like it from I like the early vintage digital ones around 2000, just because of the technology of them. I'm not particularly like, you know, like, oh, here's a 14 megapixel digital camera. I don't know. To me, that's between two worlds for me. To me, I like the really early crappy ones. And seeing what they're like and just the technology of them all. And I like, obviously like the X100V kind of ones, but that middle ones around the 2010s, I'm not really into that yet. So this is what I want to be doing. I'll be doing a review of soon. This is like a little Casio for the year 2000. And there was one model of this camera which had an MP3 player in. Like, it's just crazy stuff, right?
Very cool.
Mine doesn't have the MP3 player, but it's just all crazy stuff like Casio in the digital photography. I mean, they usually make calculators, don't they? Casio
and like
in the digital
watches and stuff.
And like Toshiba made digital cameras, and all these Japanese companies that you may not associate with cameras started making cameras. So that's, to me, what is really interesting about it. Was it's like this new, around 20 years ago, there's this big gold rush and every digital company got in there. And
Yeah.
there's some really weird, odd looking cameras from around
Yeah.
that time.
They're real time capsules, you know, like there's these moments in time. Just quickly, I'll go over this because it is kind of slightly unrelated, but I mean, sort of not really. There was a post, I put it on my story, and Lux sent it to me, and it was about, you know, back when you had to take your whole computer over to like someone's house and have like a LAN party. He had to explain it to me because I was like, I have no idea what
Like
this
playing
is.
game?
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a local area network, I think that's what it stands for.
Yeah.
And he was explaining it to me, and I was like, making fun of him, like, you're so, you know, you sound so old. Like, I mean, I wouldn't have done that anyway, but I was like, this is so funny. This image of this, like, you know, teenager, like grabbing their big computer or like getting your mum to drive you to someone's house. And this magazine, Dazed and Confused, they did, they posted on their Instagram, it was like all these digicam pictures of these LAN parties. So, and I was like, oh, that's such a cool like idea. And, you know, like there's these like pixelated, you know, photos of all these like, you know, 90s kind of teenagers on these like big computers and stuff. And it just felt like a really good marrying of two things, like technology, a time that's like lost, you know, like that'll never happen again. And so many people won't remember that. So it's so good that we have photos of it, because we can look back and be like, oh my God, remember those days? Because it's getting smaller and smaller, the time frame for trends or things, because things are changing so quickly. So that's I think that's where the appeal for the vintage digital thing, for sure. What else have we got in the comments section here? I'm trying to figure out where I was. Suzanne, I have shot the Holger film a while ago. I think it may have been amazing, but it also could have been, I didn't use a great developer combo. Yeah, possibly, but I think it's definitely worth a try. Travis is saying, I'm planning a $100 film project, cheap 100 feet of black and white film to bulk load into 18 rolls. That's awesome, money saving idea. Shoot a theme over 2 weeks, home dev and scan. Hopefully at the end there's something worth sharing. Yeah, that's really cool. Like, just go with it. You've got like a bit of an idea, and then see what you get at the end, and then maybe it can turn into something. I think that's a good way to go, for sure. Who else have we got? Lewis, hey, late to the stream, what did I miss? You'll have to catch up.
Usual nonsense.
Yes, usual nonsense. But we were talking photo projects. We're talking, we did a little Christmas gifting segment, so you'll have to go back. I think the chat takes like a day to turn up. Yeah. Which is kind of annoying. But yeah. Suzanne, I like the idea of what you observe in a hotel room. Brilliant. Yeah, I think Ali's got some really cool,
do
cool
any
ideas.
Observations in Noosa? No photos were recorded in the hotel.
No. Lux took a Polaroid photo of me by the window, and it was the worst photo of me I have ever seen. Like, I showed my mum, and she was like, that is terrible. Like, you know, when someone just takes a photo, you just look awful. It was just, I was like, I don't even know how this happened.
Who
like,
is
everything,
this?
Yeah, it didn't even look like me. I was like,
photographer's fault, clearly.
It looks so bad. So that really brought me down. It was just, we didn't have a great time in Noosa because of the weather. So someone's saying, I see guitars and basses, my other addiction. Yes, you'll have to ask Lux in the chat about all the guitars behind. That's another one of his addictions, for sure. He's got lots of expensive addictions. And Anthony said, smashing it, Lucy, thank you. And Ed is saying, yes, it is FOMO pan, or FOMO pan, as I called it in a video once. Yep. All right, so where are we at, Matt? We've done, I think, so photo projects. I think it would be cool to have video from you on the zine making process, because you've got like this part where you've got the photography project and like the, you know, the ideation stage, and then figuring it out, and then picking out the work, then deciding how you're going to share it. But then you've got the kind of logistical side of putting a zine together, or whatever it is that you're going to do. And that's a whole nother part. So it is quite involved. Like, it's a lot, you know,
there is, and there's probably people who are very comfortable with shooting and executing a photo project, but may not know how to do the zine, and vice versa. So I'm someone who's dabbled through it all, I suppose. I'm not an expert in any particular part of it. I do like doing it, and I don't know. I feel really weird about. I've got the second zine that I've done. It's already in InDesign. I've got it laid out. I'm just like, I don't know if I want to put it out now. I don't know what I do. So I even ordered new stickers. I've got these new stickers, Lucy Lim, the Matt Loves Camera stickers with the point and shoot on. You've got one.
I've got
Anthony's got one as well. So, but I even ordered new stickers for it. I've got it, the envelopes ready to go. I just haven't. I don't know. I'm in this weird mood lately, Lucy Lim. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, I think it's the sickness. I think sickness can get you down too, and kind of put you in a bit of a. I think when you get back on the horse, is that a?
Back on the horse, yeah.
you'll be, and you put out a video and,
Yeah.
you send some film off, because you also had some film come back from Ikigai that wasn't
Yeah,
what you
I had
expected.
the last 6 roles I had come back. I was just like, it really depressed me. Not through Ikigai's developed and scanned. I was just like, sometimes when you send film off to the lab, I don't know if you have this feeling, but you go, what I should that for? Like, that was like, what I take 10 photos of that for? What a waste of time.
Yeah.
I was really down on myself. I was looking forward to one role in particular. I had a role of color infrared that I bought off eBay here in Australia. It was from Victoria, somewhere a little bit colder than when we are. And it was sealed in box color infrared film, 20 years old, obviously, because that's how old the color infrared is. And I shot it, and I had high hopes. So thinking this could be toast. I was using my pen FT, and I was metering the pen FT, and I had the right filter on the front and all that.
Yeah.
Long story short, it come back, and Pete just messaged me and went, it's really, really badly fogged. And if you look at it, the whole roll, it looks like a bunch of crap. If you actually look at the images, though, he said, looks like you did everything right, because the exposures look really good.
Yeah.
Like the exposures don't look too bright or too dark. You can actually see everything in the exposure. Like you can see the images. The problem is the whole roll is like this bluey, greeny sludge, because it's just fogged over time.
Yeah.
So in a way, it was kind of reassuring that my pen FT was a good camera to shoot the infrared on.
Yeah, so you learned something and you got a positive out of it.
Yeah, so I've got another roll of the same batch of that film. I don't even know if I'm going to shoot it or not. I have got one roll of aerochromes. This is aerochrome that I bought of Dean Bencini in Germany. This is where most people who've been shooting aerochrome the last few years, this is where they got their aerochrome.
Yeah.
So this is aerochrome from Dean in Germany before he sold out. I've got one roll of 35. So I'm now, okay, well, I know the pen FT is a good camera to use. I get 72 shots. I know the metering was good because the exposures look good.
Yeah.
I will probably shoot that over the summer. But yeah, it was really just disappointing. And this is just before I got sick and I got all these scans back, and I'm like,
I don't know.
It
can be really disheartening. Like film can be really, really disheartening, I think, in that way. Like, I haven't had that happen in quite a long time.
Yeah.
I've been but I feel like I shoot very safely though. Like Lux is always doing different things or really pushing things to their limits. And I'm very like, it's really sunny and I'm shooting Ektar in a camera that I know works, and I'm shooting the subjects that I would normally shoot. So, I kind of know what I'm going to get. But I want to start experimenting, but that's why I'm going to do it with digital, because, for a cost factor, and also, to avoid any sort of disappointment. But yeah, I mean, I think you've just got to, like, I think when you shoot and you get some rolls back, you'll feel, you'll feel good again for sure.
Yeah, that's the other thing now. Like, we're almost in December, and like, the lab shut down, Christmas postage, Christmas holidays. So, I mean, I need to get a test roll from this new little Ricoh R1S to the lab, but I don't think I've got any other roll. I got a roll of Velvia in a camera in my Class S, but I don't know when I'm going to shoot that. So I'm just like, I don't know. I've got to, don't know what I'm going to do.
That's another thing somebody said to me actually quickly before we move on to the playlists. The other day somebody DM'd me and said, that they've been feeling kind of like what you're saying, like a bit sort of meh. And with film, like they said, it makes it hard to stay motivated because, maybe you get out and you manage to take 10 photos.
Yeah.
But then, you don't get out again for another week and you take another 10 photos, or maybe you finish the roll, but then you got to send it away and it's a while before you see it, which is why we love it. But he said, like, it makes me feel kind of like by the time I see the photos, I'm like kind of just, I wish I had some more motivation in between that. So he's another reason why he's kind of like putting in some digital in between, to then feel like, oh yeah, because you sort of, you see a photo and you get that like, oh yeah, that looks really good. And then it motivates you to take more. And, with film, it is that long process. So that if you are feeling a bit meh, that can kind of work against you, I think. So I think there's a lot of, there's pros and cons to both, but I think more and more I'm hearing from people that they are going to be including a lot more digital in their kind of workflow in 2023. So awesome. Oh my God, Caleb is here from Bad Flashes. Thank you for joining us, Caleb. I enjoyed your 7 Artisans video. We watched it last night. We caught up with that. At Grainy Days, we did a little YouTube catch up session. Who else do we have here? Yeah, thanks for joining, Ali. And we're going to move on to our playlists now, aren't we, Matt?
Yes.
I'm very excited about this. So we'll
So
reveal
this was Molly. What Molly had this great idea, wasn't it, of doing a playlist. Now, usually we do a playlist around a film, but this time Molly had the idea of, why don't we do a rebadged film, and we will do cover versions in the playlist only, which is a great, genius idea.
Genius idea, Molly.
So
well done.
I've called it Ag for Vista 400.
Okay, I wasn't sure what rebranded film we were going with. So
let's go Ag for Vista 200, because we know we pretty much know that's Fujicolor C200.
Okay, see, I didn't want to rebadge anyone who maybe didn't want to be rebadged. So I just called mine rebranded film.
Excellent.
Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go?
No, ladies first.
You want me to go first?
Lumens first.
Okay, so I really enjoyed this one because there's a lot of good covers out there. So my first song on my playlist is Nirvana, The Man Who Sold the World.
Sorry, which band?
Nirvana.
Okay.
How do you say it?
I thought it was Nirvana.
Nirvana. It's probably just my accent, like Nirvana.
Can you still hear I'm still sick with my weird muttly kind of cough? Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Nirvana. Yeah, go. Yeah. I almost chose that one, but.
Oh, did you? Yeah. Okay. I didn't want to be too obvious, but then I went really niche, and I was like, this is too no one's gonna know any of these.
Have you heard the stories around that? People used to go up to David Bowie, I suppose you could say, if I'm making fun of people's pronunciation.
Tomato.
Exactly, tomato. And they should say, "Hey, David Bowie, I think it's so cool that an old fella like you's playing Nirvana songs." They didn't realize that. Yeah.
Well, I feel like it's one of those things where the cover is more popular than the original, perhaps. I suppose it depends who you're speaking to, but
which demographic,
Well, most of the songs on Unplugged are covers, like on that Nirvana album are covers. Like there's Meat Puppets covers and Muddy Waters and like Jesus Don't Want Me for a Sunbeam. That's like an old sort of Christian song. So interesting. It's where I learned a lot about music on there, because I assumed they were just Nirvana songs, and then I was like, oh, okay. So Man Who Sold the World, great cover. I do actually like the Nirvana version better. I'm a big Bowie fan, but I like the Nirvana version. Next up is Blondie, Hanging on the Telephone, which a lot of people don't know.
I didn't know that was a cover.
Is a cover. Yes.
No.
I found that out I don't know, probably in my teens. There's a band called The Nerves. They're like a 70s kind of power pop band.
Yeah.
And I actually like that version better. So definitely listen to that. It's a sick song. But the Blondie version is so popular, and everyone would probably just think that that's their song. And the next one is Galaxy 500, great band. They covered New Order's song Ceremony. Okay. And very, very good cover. I was talking to Mike Gutterman about this song the other day. Yeah, Gutterman Mike. And it's a kind of more slowed down, dreamy kind of version of the song, but it's very cool. And then lastly, one of my favorites, I'm a huge Beach Boys fan, and the Ramones cover Do You Want to Dance by the Beach Boys. And they just do it in a very Ramones style, but there's a lot of links to be made between those two bands, because it's very simple. Not simple music, because the Beach Boys isn't simple, but like these catchy kind of very poppy songs, and there is a lot of like pop elements to the Ramones, even though they're like one of the punk pioneer bands. So that's my my covers playlist. Matthew, what do you have?
Okay, so I'm going to go through my covers. So this is Matt Loves Ag for Vista 200. Okay. And now there's actually a theme running through these songs. Like I love a good theme.
So
the first one is, they're all from TV shows or movies. All of these have been featured in.
Interesting.
Okay, so the first one is Twist and Shout by the Beatles. Of course, even when I was a young kid, I didn't realize this was a cover version, but obviously it is. Do you know which movie or TV show Twist and Shout was famously used in?
I don't know.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Lucy.
I've never seen that movie.
Oh, well, come on.
I've never seen that movie. I know there's
I'm going to end the live right now.
This is the last episode of Analog Hour. Lumen fails again. Put it in the burn book.
Put that in the burn book for sure.
I've never seen the movie. I've seen parts of it, and I've seen things on Instagram about it, but I've never actually seen it. So I should probably
Ferris
watch it.
Bueller's Day Off. There's a bit where there's some kind of parade. I don't know what kind of parade it is. It's Thanksgiving parade or something. I don't know what it is. Yep. There's a parade going down. I think it's Chicago, and Ferris Bueller jumps on one of the floats and starts lip syncing to Twist and Shout.
Okay.
Twist and Shout by the Beatles. The second one is another Beatles themed song. Well, it's written by the Beatles. Look, a lot of these cover versions I've chosen are better than the originals. I don't know if this one is though. This is a cracking cover version. I don't know if it's better than the original though. With a little help from my friends by Joe Cocker.
I would say that the original is better.
Yeah, the Joe Cocker version is a very.
I haven't heard the Joe Cocker
What?
version. Is
What do you mean you
he?
haven't heard
Is
it?
he leave? You can leave your hat on. Is that's his
Yeah.
song, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So
okay.
anyone anyone who's a certain age like me will know the
Mm.
opening music of this song is from which TV show?
I have no idea, but comment in the chat if you're an over 40s.
The
person?
Wonder Years. The Wonder Years.
I've never seen that. I know of it. I've
God,
heard of it, but
come
I've never seen
on.
it. You're
The
really
Wonder
aging
Years.
yourself here,
If you ever
Matt.
hear the first few, what would you do? It's the Wonder Years, okay?
Okay.
And
all right.
yeah, and you know, I was about 13, I suppose, when the Wonder Years came out, and I'm not ashamed to say it's a bit weird now saying it as a 40-year-old man, but as a 13-year-old boy, I was in love with Winnie Cooper, just like Kevin Arnold was. Quite honestly, we're all about the same age. So yeah, Winnie Cooper. So it was kind of like, it was a really sad show though. It's a really sad show, the Wonder Years, because like a lot of the shows, American shows of the 80s and 90s, they all had happy endings, and the boy always took the girl to the dance, and everything
worked out.
But the Wonder Years wasn't like that. The Wonder Years was like really kind of, it's like things didn't work out. Yeah.
Okay.
So well, I wouldn't say it was dark, but it was certainly things didn't work out how you ever thought they would. And he never quite took Winnie Cooper. I didn't even take Winnie Cooper to the dance. I don't know.
You never got the girl.
Well, maybe he did, maybe he did. I don't know. And so the third song is an Aussie song. Aussies in the chat will know this. Yes, Lex Lumen knows the Wonder Years.
I said over 40s people comment, and look who's jumped in the chat, Lex Lumen. Okay, keep going, Matt.
Fred Savage does really look. He looks really young. He's got a baby face, hasn't he? So the third song is an Aussie classic. I don't know if you know this one, Lucy. If you don't know this one, I'm going to scream.
Oh, I'm feeling the hot seat here.
It's Good Times by Jimmy Barnes and In Excess. So Lux will know this one. So in the mid 80s, two of Australia's biggest performers, In Excess, obviously a lot of people will know, and Jimmy Barnes. Jimmy Barnes, of course, was the lead singer of Cold Chisel, who just gone solo. They came together in the mid 80s to do this cover version of it. I think it was an Easy Beat song, Good Times. And their version is fantastic. It was a massive hit here in Australia in the mid 80s. And I think it was featured on the Lost Boys soundtrack. Lost Boys, which is that vampire movie, isn't it? In
Love
LA.
that movie. Yeah. We watched that not that long ago. One. Wait, it's a bit more edgy, like it's got a bit more edge to it.
It is.
We like
Kiefer Sutherland's in it, isn't he? And
Kiefer Sutherland, and I can't remember who else is in it, but it's very 80s.
So Good Times was on the Lost Boys. Now, there's a couple of things though. So this is actually a 1960s song they re-released in the 80s. But when we were in the 80s, there's a few telltale signs of this song, even though it was a fantastic song, massive hit. There's a few telltale signs, Lucy Lumen, that was just an old song. So for example, they're talking about this party going on, right? And so the people in the song are called Mary, Jim, and Slim. And like in the 80s, we literally don't know anyone called Mary, Jim, and Slim. Unless it's your granddad. We don't know anyone called Mary, Jim, and Slim.
Yeah.
But it gets worse. Okay, there is one line in here that you just couldn't have today. So they're talking about all the people at the party. And one of the lines says, short, fat Fanny's going to be there too.
Oh no, cancelled.
You can't say short, fat Fanny anymore.
Yeah,
you'd have to say plus size Fanny.
No, thank you. Yeah, which wouldn't really sound good in the song.
No.
No, that's terrible.
So it's a great song.
Okay, well, it can still be a great song. That's fine. But there's a lot of lyrics. There's a lot of things in songs that when you listen, I can't think of any sort of examples right now, but a lot of things where you're like, oh, that definitely would not.
Well, there's an ABBA song, Does Your Mother Know, which is a bit.
No, really? I don't really know that many ABBA songs either. Just the main hits. Sorry.
Okay. So hang on, one more. Where's my last one? So I'm going to round it out with a bit more of a. This, you'll definitely know this one. "Girl, You'll Be a Woman" by Urge Overkill. Do you know that song? Here we go. I can tell by the moaning and groaning, you know this one.
I absolutely love this song.
What film's it from?
It's from Pulp Fiction.
Correct.
I love that scene. Is so good, and like when you hear that song, you just like feel like you're Uma Thurman.
You feel like you're overdosing yourself.
Yeah, you're like, oh my god, can't wait for what comes next. Yeah, it's a great song. Such a great song. Yeah, it's got such a vibe.
There you go. There's my playlist.
I love it. I like the end of it anyway. But yeah, I'm not a big Jimmy Barnes fan.
Neither am I, to
You
be
know,
fair.
I mean, obviously he's, you know, but In Excess, great band. It was the anniversary of his Michael Hutchins' death the other day, not like a week ago, maybe. I heard on the radio.
He was a great singer, Michael Hutchins.
Yeah, such a shame. Yeah,
Mhm.
it made me think, oh, what you know, where would that person be now? And then they also played Nirvana on the radio a little while, and I was thinking, oh, I wonder what, you know, like what you know, Kurt Cobain would be doing now. Like, what would the press be around him? Like, would he have an Instagram page? Would he have fully gone?
Would he be cancelled by now? Would
he be cancelled? Yeah, you just don't know. Like,
I actually saw In Excess. Like, I saw In Excess a couple of times when they were like really big, and they were like the entertainment center in Brisbane, like 10,000 people or whatever, which was the biggest place we had then. And they played all these stadium tours in America in the 80s. But then in the 90s, after I come back from overseas, about 97, 98, I actually saw them in a little nightclub in Brisbane. I think it used to be called Transformers Nightclub. It's long gone, but it was literally this venue of 500 people. In Excess, this massive band who played stadiums in America.
Yeah,
they they'd waned a little bit in popularity, or was it waxed? No, waned, or whatever. And they was playing these 500 people nightclubs in Australia, which was really strange. It was packed.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's awesome. Yeah, things like that they don't happen that often. I have like family friends in the UK who say they remember seeing Oasis like in really small places, like, you know, like in like Manchester, being like, you know, before they got big. So it's always interesting to hear from people when they've seen someone like just before they kind of shot up like that. Very cool. I think, Suzanne's saying I need to see Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So I'll have to add that to the list of things that I need to watch. Like, I've never seen Star Wars and a bunch of other things.
Star Wars.
Don't know if that's
Star Wars, Lucy Lumen.
I've seen like one of them on TV, like when I was a kid, but I've never like, you know, fully kind of like sat down and watched them. But I'm assuming Luca will probably become a fan. So, and Mig is saying Gabe Sachs from Sunny 16, I Dream of Cameras podcast, worked on Freaks and Geeks. Yes, I did know that. And Freaks and Geeks is like the original one is really cool. He's saying gotta go, thank you for joining. And we've got a comment here, lol, you know you're old when In Excess comes up and you think I've heard that name. All right, is there anything else that you wanted to chat about, Matthew, before we sign off for the next episode? Yeah.
No, I don't know. What's December holding for Lucy Lumen? I suppose I'm going to ask.
Well, Lux will finish up at work soon.
Oh yeah,
so he'll be off for 5 or 6 weeks, which is really exciting for us because we will have like more time together and more time to do more content. So I've got a couple of videos already in the bank to go out soon. And nothing else like super exciting. I've got some film in the Texas Leica. And I do have a little photo project idea around using that camera. So I'm excited to sort of reveal that a little bit more. And I've got like a creative strategies kind of guide, like 101 kind of like tips around like, being creative as a photographer if you're feeling kind of in a rut. And I've finished doing all of that. I've designed it in Canva. I'm really happy with the way it looks. So that'll be released soon as well. And I've got a cool like family photographer from New Zealand, Kristen Peters, I think her name is. She shoots all on film and she does these awesome like family sessions, and she's really killing it. So I want to hear about her transition from digital to film and like how she made that work, and how she built that up as like a business, because I think that's really cool to be able to do that. So that's coming up on the podcast, but other than that, that's pretty much it. I did hear that Fujifilm, I saw a lot of articles the other day that Fujifilm are gonna they've announced that there's going to be a lot of like the shortages will continue for 35mm film, which is sad. So doesn't sound like that situation's getting any better. And
it's a weird situation with Fujifilm. Like, are they still making film or not? Like, what's going on? And like,
makes me nervous. But
if they're not, like, why are they getting Kodak film in the United States, North America rebranded? Why are they getting Acros 2 made? It's a weird situation, and they won't tell you anything, obviously. Are they getting? Part of me thinks they're getting ready to make some kind of film comeback.
You reckon?
Because they think of the complete opposite thing that Fujifilm would do. Everyone expects them to shut her up and say we're not doing anything anymore. But why would they keep their brand going through Acros 2 and through a Kodak in America?
Totally. Yeah. And it seems silly because then you're handing it all over to kind of Kodak to be the
Yeah,
one,
why bother?
the one
Why bother doing it?
supplier.
If you're not going to do it anymore, just say I'm not doing it anymore. But
Yeah.
they are selling it. It's an odd situation.
Interesting. I just worry about the chemicals because I know someone said to me, like, if the people always worry about the film side, but the Kodak are going to keep making film.
Because a lot of labs
but
use
a lot of labs
chemicals.
use the Fuji chemicals, so it's the chemicals that you need to be worrying about more, which isn't something like my mind doesn't go there because I don't do that side of it. But yeah, I'm like, oh, nervous. So yeah, I just wanted to bring that up in case anyone had any more info or speculation on that. You can drop a comment below. And I will put up a little thing on with the playlists, with the links to the playlist, so everybody can go over and vote for those. And if you haven't subscribed to Matthew's YouTube channel, definitely go over and do that. Give him some love to, welcome him back to, I know what it's like in the early stages of a YouTube channel. Like, we had a lot of like periods where we weren't like, able to put out a video, and then you feel like, oh no, I'm lost momentum, and you think YouTube's going to forget about you, and so you get back on that YouTube horse.
Yes, I've got a few videos planned. Well, they were planned for November, but now they'll be planned for December. So I'm looking forward to publishing some new videos the next few weeks before the end of this year.
And you've had your reel and your TikTok about that camera. It's just it's like GX Ace levels of views happening. So
even with TikTok, like I had a lot of success on TikTok in October, but then because I've been sick, I haven't been doing any. But I mean, one thing of this is I did every single day in October. I did one for every day, not always on the day. But I saw the number of people following me on TikTok shoot up from 400 to 4,000.
Wow.
But I just, because I've been sick, I haven't been doing much. I posted a few of those on Instagram. Maybe of those 31 TikToks, maybe I posted about a dozen on Instagram.
Okay.
One of them in particular blew up, and my Instagram followers have doubled from 1,600 to 3,200.
Wow.
Off one reel.
That's crazy.
One reel. It's crazy. And I actually keep missing messages from you, because there's no way on Instagram to mute reel notifications. You can mute all these other kind of notifications. You can't mute reel notifications. And because it's had 250,000 views, I've had to mute. So I keep missing messages from you because
it's really cutting into our friendship.
This
viral reel that you made, Matt Murray.
To be fair, every time I message you lately, I'm just at the beach. I'll listen in about 3 days. You've been at every single day for about a week. You're at I'm just at the beach this morning. I'm like, geez.
Just going back to the beach. Yeah, well, I got to keep Luca busy. Like, I used to have so much time where he was like in the pram, and then I would voice message, but now and when I'm voice messaging lately, he kind of looks at me. He's even like grabbing my phone. Like, he grabs my phone now. Like, he knows that's like the barrier for him getting attention a little bit. So yeah, things are changing all the time with him.
Get him a dog.
Been harder. Yeah. I was thinking about the other day at the park, there was a dog, and he was like, I was like, but then it's more responsibility, more mess. But yeah, thank you so much for everybody for joining. I think we've had a few people join now at the sort of tail end, so make sure you go back and catch up on what we've been talking about. Thank you so much, Matt, for joining me and giving up your time on a Sunday. I will speak to you soon. We're going to do a little recap of our goals as well. We need to book that in. We're going to go through our goals that we set for 2022, and then we're going to do one where we go through goals for 2023 as well. Yeah, should be good over on your channel, so make sure you're subscribed, notifications on, so you don't miss out on that one as well. Jamie Maldonado, 90 minutes late, but I managed to make it in for the end. Hello, Jamie. Thank you for joining us. Hello and goodbye, Jamie. Okay, thank you guys for joining. Thank you, Matt. I'll speak